Hello YouTube. This video is about how we're going to charge this AGM battery. AGM batteries like to be charged anywhere between 10 and 25% of their cold cranking amp capacity. This is an 800 cold cranking amp capacity battery, so you should have 80 amps to charge it at a minimum. This DSR battery, which is on its last legs, it turns itself on randomly every now and then, is only good for 25 amps. So we're going to put an onboard 60 amp battery charger in. An 80 amp battery charger is ridiculously expensive. We have purchased a 60 amp IntelliSupply charger from XS Power Batteries. It has the ability of charging at 60 amps and is rated for an AGM battery. So we're going to install this into the car and it's going to stay in the car. This is where I've decided to mount it. And what we'll do is we'll center punch the location of the screws and drill some holes. Hole number one. With the unit securely mounted in its location, we can move on to the wiring. What I'd like to be able to do is to remove the unit. So what I'm going to do is take this quick disconnect and put it here and run the wires underneath the trunk floor so that I can disconnect the unit and remove the unit if I need to. So this is how I've resorted to soldering these joints. I heat the connector up and fill it up with solder. Take the wire and dunk it in. With the unit mounted and the ground run right to the subframe of the trunk, because that's how the negative lead of the battery is. It's run right to the frame of the trunk, and I'll show you that when we get it underneath. We have to route our positive line, and we've got it drilled through the floor, and now we're going to move it over to the remote cutoff switch. This is the ground lead from the battery. It goes right to the subframe. As you remember, we had the ground lead from the charger going right to the subframe. So it's a direct connection to the battery. Now what we have to do is run our positive lead over to the remote shutoff switch for the car. So we'll drill some holes and put some cable clamps in and do that. With a hole drilled for our positive lead, we can install a grommet so that we don't chafe the positive lead. And the grommet is sized so that the terminal will actually go through it, so that when we go to paint the car, we can take all the wiring out. Now we have to mount the control panel. I think I'm going to mount it right there. That way when you open the trunk you can see it. It has this long wire associated with it. I'd like to cut it off, but it has these jacks on the end of it, so I can't cut it off, so I'm going to have to leave it coiled up right there. We're on the last part of this install. And the last thing we have to do is mount the battery temperature sensor to the negative terminal. They specifically say mount it to the negative terminal. It can cause damage if you hook it to the positive terminal. And now we have to run the wire. Okay, we've got the wires routed fairly nice. We've got the control panel mounted. We have the unit plugged in. It's reading off. Let's see what happens when we turn it on. We get the display lighten up. It displays the voltage. It's saying it's putting no current out. and it's telling you the current status of the battery. Battery is full. Let's see what happens when we put a load on. It recognizes that the voltage is dropping and is putting out 30 amps, 25 amps. So what I have running is the cooling fan, and it's supposed to draw 18.5 amps. So we're down to 17, 16. They do say that you can run stuff and charge the battery at the same time. With the load back off, it comes back and says the battery is fully charged. It's got 13.5 volts. I believe we've accomplished what we set out to do. We have a battery on board that'll charge and carry the load of the cooling fan and water pump when we come back from rounds. If you like this video, there'll be more.